If these artisans make a single mistake laying a flat map over this giant custom sphere, they'll have to start the entire process over. The slightest twitch of the finger can cause a rip, a costly hiccup at Bellaby & Co. globe makers, where the world's most expensive globes are made. A 22cm mass-produced globe can cost about $25, while a Bellaby globe of the same size can sell for over $3,800. And prices can reach six figures for Bellaby's largest globes. That's partly because artisans customise these globes entirely in-house, including hand-painting the globe and crafting the base it sits on. So, what makes these globes worth waiting up to 2 years to get, and why are they so expensive?
If someone asks why it's so expensive, I invite them along to the studio and show them around and show them the processes we go through at every single level. When they leave, they fully understand why it takes so long.
Peter Bellaby founded London's Bellaby & Co. globe makers in 2008, and today it's one of the only studios in the world making globes by hand. The smallest globe it sells, the 12cm diameter pocket globe, can set you back almost $2,000. Its largest, the Churchill, has a 127cm diameter and costs over $94,000. Since 2008, Bellaby has sold around 5,000 globes, ranging from maps of the Earth to the constellations and even the Moon. 3 of those were featured in Martin Scorsese's Hugo, including a 40cm celestial globe. Production is limited because making a globe from scratch, entirely by hand, is no easy feat. At Bellaby, it requires cartographers, globe makers, painters, and woodworkers. And the price of these globes is largely a reflection of how many the team can make without compromising quality. The attention to detail starts with the spheres. Most sizes are made from fiberglass for its strength and durability. But what's most important is that it's a perfect sphere. Any deformation can result in uneven weight distribution, which affects how the globe spins. But what's most important is that it's a perfect sphere, which affects how the globe spins. If that happens, Bellaby has to fix it by attaching a counterweight. Then there are the maps themselves. The cartography department focuses on accuracy and fulfilling the customer's imagination, like adding the Silk Road or the spice routes.
They highlight the places where they came from and where they might have immigrated to and where they got married and where their ancestors are from.
But Bellaby doesn't just customise its maps for creative or sentimental reasons. The details also affect where the company can sell its globes.
For instance, in India, I can actually go to prison for 6 months if I ship a globe to India that doesn't have the correct border between India and Pakistan.
And if any territories shift or new borders are drawn, Bellaby's newer iterations will reflect that. When the cartographers are done with all the necessary specifications, they print the map onto oblong strips called gauze. Now it can be handed off to globe makers like Eddie.
So with globe making, it's all about applying 12 or 24 gauze onto the sphere. So it all starts with cutting those gauze very, very precisely with a scalpel.
Makers have to cut the gauze to within 0.1 of a millimetre, so there are no gaps or overlaps when they're applied.
You could very easily cover an entire country based on the amount that you've extra overlapped because you've cut a little bit too much excess.
Eddie traces the latitude and longitude lines onto the sphere as guides. Then, he wets the gauze and glues them onto the surface, gently flattening them by hand. Even the slightest tension or miscalculated movement can cause a rip or wrinkle. When globe makers do make mistakes, they have to scrape off and replace the offending gore. If they're lucky, they'll only need to remove one, but sometimes the team has to redo the entire globe, including the cartography.
A lot of the times it does result in the globe being restarted, and that can even be at the final stage just before it's being packaged. While that doesn't happen often, when it does, everybody's upset, but it's just the only way that we can maintain a really high quality standard.
Correctly setting a single gore onto the massive Churchill globe can take an hour. Aside from size, factors like the temperature in the room or the consistency of the glue affect application time. The globe maker has to account for all of this, including their own breathing.
I found that cold showers actually help a lot with controlling breath, and that's really improved my making actually.
It takes up to 18 months for trainees to learn the most basic aspects of globe making, and much longer to master it. Eddie has been on the job for 6 years. When the gauze are finally set, the globe is ready for the painters, like Isis. She can bring the Earth, the Moon, or the constellations to life. She shades in the coastlines, mountain ranges, political borders, and any illustrations or customizations.
The difficulty on this stage is actually making all these gores the same color and consistent. It's almost like if you're making a painting, but you have 12 different canvases, and there has to be a continuation.
Some globes highlight different ocean depths, so Isis has to paint in ocean trenches in their exact location. She works deliberately, being careful not to paint neighbouring countries the same shades, or let any watercolour run from one gore to the next. That's another mistake that risks having to start the whole globe all over again. At the woodshop, artisans are working on a base for the nearly complete Churchill globe. It's all done in-house by a dedicated team of 4. They engrave, chisel, and stain the wood based on customer specifications. At every stage of the globe making process, Peter encourages his team to take as long as they need.
It's very important that we spend the time that is required to make every single globe as best as it can be. It's finished when it's finished and when it's ready.
The cost of labour accounts for most of the price, since it usually takes 4 to 6 months to complete a globe and ship it out. But Bellaby also pays attention to the materials it uses. The inks it uses for printing can last between 80 and 200 years in gallery conditions. The origin story of Bellaby globes is just as peculiar as the globes themselves. In 2008, Peter decided to make a globe for his father's 80th birthday. He went through hundreds of globes and thousands of pounds before he was happy with the result.
In about 2011-12, I sold my house to fund, because this is a bottomless pit of money. I used to go down to the municipal dump every 2 weeks with an estate car full of trial globes.
And once he got it right, he wanted to keep making them. But Peter didn't expect the warm reception these boutique globes received. The company was recently commissioned to work on a globe for the Louvre, and its largest globe has a waitlist of 2 years. Peter attributes this demand to the rise of consumer interest in handmade products. The global handicraft market size reached $680 billion in 2021 and is expected to exceed $1 trillion by 2027. Bellaby & Co. too has seen this consistent rise in demand for its handmade globes. The company says it turns multi-million-dollar revenues year after year. And it expects this to continue, even at high price points for its niche products.
What I love so much about what we do is that it is so deeply personal. You can tell someone's whole life story in it.